Hello student armies, welcome back to Diksha Vedantu channel. This is your master teacher Navya, and in today's session we will be starting with the transportation system in human beings, that is the body fluid. We'll be talking about the circulatory system and the components of the blood. Nothing but the blood has got plasma as well as cellular components like your red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets. We'll be talking about all of them, right? And what are they made up of? What are all the types of white blood cells? We'll be studying about that as well. And then we will be studying about the clotting factor, the blood clotting, nothing but the platelet, right? We will see that how the blood clotting is actually occurring. We'll be discussing about the mechanism, right? And finally we'll study about the structure of heart as well. Hi students, right? So good afternoon all of you. And yeah, so I'm audible, right? Once let me check if I'm audible. Is my voice clear? Yes. Okay, so the live has started, and yeah, already in our previous session, I spoke about the dark reaction as well as light reaction, right? In case if you people have any doubts, feel free to comment in the comment section. Fine? Okay, I heard that most of the students, they get confused with the dark reaction, the enzymes that are involved in dark reaction, right? So it is actually very easy, trust me. And if you want me to explain that once again, I can do it for you all, right? So yeah, I'll just recap what I have done in the previous session. Okay, I spoke about photosynthesis in depth. See, already in your class 10, you have studied about photosynthesis, right? Wherein you had studied that the photosynthesis, it involves three main events, which involves absorption of light, nothing but the solar energy, and then the second step involves the conversion of the solar energy into chemical energy and splitting up of water molecule, and the third event involves the reduction of carbon dioxide into carbohydrate. Right, these are the three major events with the help of which the plant was actually generating its food, right? But then that was just three events which you studied in your class 10th. Whereas in your class 11th, you will study that the photosynthesis, it occurs in two stages. The first stage is the light reaction, this part, and then the second stage is the dark reaction. In the light reaction, the absorption of solar energy, conversion of the solar energy into chemical energy, and splitting up of the water molecule occurs in the light reaction, whereas in the dark reaction, which is also called as Kelvin cycle, here the biosynthetic phase. This is also called as biosynthetic phase. Why? Because the carbohydrates are generated in this phase, in the dark reaction, right? Hi Krishna, I guess, right? Komal, yes. So yeah, we studied about this in depth in our previous session. Fine, in case if you have any doubts, feel free to comment in the comment section. Okay. So in today's session, like I have told you, that today we'll be focusing on the body fluid and circulation part. See, you have a chapter in your class 11, that is the body fluid and circulation chapter, wherein you will study about the transportation system in human being, the need of transportation. You will also study about blood grouping. Before getting into blood grouping, you will study about the red blood cells, white blood cells and its types, blood clotting factor and all that, right? So we'll be doing that, in this particular session. Okay. So yeah, without delaying much, let's get started with our today's session. Fine. See, the transportation system in human body. So the main transportation system in human body is the circulatory system. You all know that. So what is this actually doing? What is the circulatory system actually doing? What is its main function? It is transporting the important nutrients, hormones and also oxygen to different parts of our body, right? It is actually keeping the organs within our body connected, right? That is the main function. See, it moves essential nutrients and minerals throughout the body, and not just that, it also removes waste products away example, I told you that, see, in your class 10th, you have already studied respiration. What was happening during respiration process? Aerobic respiration. See, the blood, it was delivering that oxygen to the, the target cell, and after respiration, the carbon dioxide was released as a byproduct, right? And that carbon dioxide is actually not needed for our body. So what was blood doing? It was carrying that carbon dioxide away from the tissues in our body to the lungs, and from lungs, what was happening there? The deoxygenated blood, from deoxygenated blood, the carbon dioxide was diffusing into alveoli, and from alveoli, the carbon dioxide was exhaled out. Nothing but here the blood is helping in the removal of carbon dioxide. Similarly, the blood also helps in the removal of nitrogenous waste from our body. What happens if the nitrogenous waste gets accumulated in our body? It can be poisonous, right? So therefore, it is important to remove those nitrogenous waste away from our body. Those nitrogenous waste will be accumulated in the liver, and then what does blood do? It carries that nitrogenous waste to the kidney, wherein that blood carrying nitrogenous waste is filtered out and urine is formed. So this is how blood is actually helping in the in transferring important nutrients, oxygen, hormone to different parts of the body, and it is also helping in removing the waste material away from the body, right? Okay, so that is the important. So transportation system is needed, which makes it, so this makes it clear that yes, transportation system is needed, right? Okay. The thing is, students, in this channel, see this channel, it's English channel, okay? In this channel, we'll have to explain in English only. Fine. If you want in Hindi, there is one more channel for that. You can watch them. Thank you, Krishna, right? Thank you so much. In case if you have any doubts, please, feel free to comment in the comment section. Week quiz hoga is, yeah, after completing particular topics, I have quiz for you all. Fine? Okay. So yeah, the need of the circulatory system in our body is one, like I've already told you, it transports nutrients, right? It also helps in the removal of the waste. Along with that, it is also playing important role in, the gaseous exchange, like I told you, for respiration process. It is blood that is carrying oxygen from the lungs to those tissues, and then it is blood that is actually carrying the carbon dioxide from the tissue to the lungs, and from the lungs, the carbon dioxide is exhaled out. So it is also helping in the transportation of gases, and along with that, it also transports hormone. Right, you all have already studied about hormones in your class 10th itself, right? In that control and coordination chapter. Yes, learn with Anshuman, right? Yes, Anshuman, there is quiz. After completing each topics, I have quiz for you all. So please wait till I complete this particular topic. After each and every topic, I have quiz. Okay, fine. So yeah, it also helps in transporting the hormones as well. Okay. So now, what are the components of circulatory system? See, our circulatory system has got three main components. One is the blood, and then comes your blood vessel, and then you have heart. So the blood, it is like vehicle, right? Now, for example, let's say there is a factory, okay, which manufactures particular product. It packs that particular products into bags, right, or into packets, and then that packets will have to be delivered to the market, right? So who carries those packets to the market from the factory? We require some vehicle, we require some transportation system, right? So vehicle carries that the packets to the market. So here the blood is behaving like a vehicle which carries important nutrients, hormone and oxygen to the target tissues in our body, right? Now the vehicle requires a pathway, right? It requires a road to, it requires a pathway, right? Only then it can move to the target location, right? Similarly, the blood also has got blood vessel which is behaving like a pathway for the blood to flow, and then comes heart. What is heart doing? It is the pumping system which pumps the blood, right? It is pumping the blood to the different parts of the body. In case if heart doesn't pump, then the blood cannot flow, right? Just like how if you want your vehicle to move forward, it requires engine, it requires fuel, right? Who is behaving like engine and fuel in our body? It is heart. It is the pumping system which pumps the blood. Okay, so these three are the main components of circulatory system. Clear with that? Okay, fine. Now, come on, I want you all to answer to this now. See, the transportation system in human body is known as, is it circulatory system or respiratory system? Obviously, you all know about this. It's a very simple question. It is your circulatory system. So, how can you define your circulatory system? See here, the circulatory system is the body's transport system. It is made up of group of organs that transport blood throughout the body. Fine, clear with that? Okay. So, does the circulatory system removes waste from the body? What did I say? Yes, yes, Anshuman. So, now, come on, comment your answer in the comment section. Does circulatory system removes waste from a body? I have already explained, right? You want the weak quiz. In this, I have added questions. As we go further, you can comment in the comment section. Yes, we will conduct that as well, Anshuman, for sure. Okay, fine. So, yes, what is your answer for this? Is it yes or no? Does circulatory system remove waste from the body? Does this help in the removal of waste from our body? Is it yes or no? Yes or no? It's yes, right? It helps. Okay, fine. So, come on, Anshuman, answer to these questions. Which among the following is or are the components of human circulatory system? Blood, or is it blood vessel, heart, all of these? What is the right answer? Anshuman, in which standard are you studying? Are you starting your 11th standard now, or are you entering into your 10th standard now? Okay, Anshuman, yes, that is the right answer now. What is the right answer for this question? Is it option A, B, C or D? Is it A, B, C or D? It is all of this, right? Option D is the right answer. Okay, next, which of the following is not a function of human circulatory system? Option A states that yes, Krishna. Option D was the right answer. Okay, so now it helps in transport of gases, or it helps in the transport of nutrients, or does it help in the transport of hormone, or does it help in digestion of food in alimentary canal? Which is not a function? Krishna, are you sure? Are you sure? It's not B, because your circulatory system, it helps in the transport of nutrients. It does help in the transport of nutrients. So here, option D is the right answer. It does not help in, the blood is not involved in the digestion mechanism. The only function is it helps in the transport of, gaseous molecules, the nutrients and hormones. Fine, it is actually the digestive enzymes that help in the digestion of food, right? It is not blood. Okay, we'll move on to the next question. See, identify the incorrect statement among the following. So, out of this, which one is the incorrect statement? See, the process which together performs the maintenance job are life processes, or the transportation system helps for carrying food and oxygen from one place to another in the body. Option C states that heart is a component of human alimentary canal? Is this true? Is heart a component of human alimentary canal? What do you think, students? And blood is one of the components of human circulatory system. So, which statement is wrong? Anshuman, are you sure with that? Are you sure with that? No? Check your answer. They are asking which statement is incorrect. Which statement is incorrect? It's not B. It is option C. It is option C. Yes, it is option C. Yes. Fine. So now we'll talk about the fluids in our body. What are all the fluids that are there in our body? So again, after completing this, the fluids in our body, I have a quiz for you all. Okay? Fine? Okay. So now, what are all the fluids that are there in our body? One is the blood and the other one is lymph. So I'm 100% sure that you have already you have studied about lymph in your class 10th as well as blood, right? So blood, the fluid that flows through the circulatory system, right? Whereas your lymph is the fluid that flows through the lymphatic system. Fine. We'll talk more about lymph as we go further. Okay. So now we'll talk about blood. First we'll study about the blood. See, the blood is also called as a fluid connective tissue. You have already studied about fluid connective tissue in your class 9th itself in the tissue chapter under the topic animal tissue. Yeah, right? You had that connective tissue topic wherein you studied about, skeletal connective tissue, dense connective tissue and all that, right? And you also had fluid connective tissue, in which you had already studied about blood and lymph in your class 9th itself, right? So now we will study in depth about this fluid connective tissue. Okay? So the blood in an healthy adult, the total volume of the blood is 5 to 6 liters. And what is the pH of the blood? It is 7.3 to 7.4. See, the 7 is actually neutral, right? But it is 7.3. It ranges between 7.3 to 7.4. And it is salty in taste and it is slightly alkaline. See, the value that is below 7 is acidic and above 7 is basic, right? Anyway, it is exceeding above 7, it is 7.3, 7.4, therefore it is slightly alkaline. You might get questions like this in your MCQs in your competitive exam, wherein they might ask that is the blood alkaline in nature, or is it slightly alkaline in nature, or is it acidic in nature, or is it neutral? Okay, you must mention it as slightly alkaline. It is not neutral, it is slightly alkaline as it is towards it is moving towards alkaline, right? It is 7.3 to 7.4. Yes? Okay, so this is your first class of your 11th. Good. Okay, so there is this chapter in your class 11th biology, the body fluid and circulation. So this topic is from that chapter. Okay? Fine. And then your blood also has got a fluid component which is called as plasma, and then it has got cellular components, and those cellular components are also called as formed element. Why? Because your red blood cells and all, they are formed where? In the bone marrow, right? So those cellular components are also called as formed elements, right? There are 3 formed elements in your blood. The first one is red blood cells, white blood cells and platelets. We'll be studying about each one in depth. We'll see the types of white blood cells. We'll talk about the functions of red blood cells. We'll also talk about the mechanism of blood clotting. Fine. Okay. So now what is the percentage? You know what? There is this, equipment which is called as centrifugation. So by centrifuging the blood sample, you can actually separate the components that are present in the blood. So how are they getting separated? It is based on the density they are getting separated. See, the centrifuge, it rotates so fastly that it can separate the the components that are present in any sample based on the density, right? So the one which is more dense, they will settle at the bottom, and the one which are lighter, they will be on the top. Yes, Anshuman? Okay, sure. We'll do for 8th as well. In which standard are you studying in, Anshuman? Do let us know. Okay. So yeah, the plasma, it constitutes 55% of the blood, and then comes your white blood cells and platelets, which is 4%, and then comes the red blood cells, which is 41%, which means to say that 55% of the blood is the liquid one, which is plasma, and then remaining 45% of the blood is your cellular components, right? Okay, Anshuman, fine, we'll do that as well. Okay, fine. So now we'll see what is plasma. Hi, Irfan. Hi, Irfan. Yeah. So your plasma is that liquid component in the blood, which is pale yellow in color, right? And it occupies 55% of the blood volume, and it is alkaline in nature. It is alkaline in nature. Sure, Anshuman, sure, we'll do that. Okay, what does this plasma do? What does it have? We'll see that. It contains inorganic ions. So the plasma carries, I told you, right, that what is the function of blood? It transports nutrients, gaseous molecules, hormones to different cells that are present in our body, right? So the plasma also carries, right? So what does plasma is a part of blood itself, right? So what is plasma actually containing? It has got inorganic ions like your sodium, calcium, magnesium, carbonates, chlorides, and all that. And then it also contains gaseous molecules like oxygen and carbon dioxide. See, particularly oxygen is actually carried by red blood cells, and the carbon dioxide is actually dissolved in the plasma, and then it is transported. Why? Because the carbon dioxide, it is highly capable for dissolving, right, than getting attached to red blood cells. Here the carbon dioxide is highly soluble. That's why they get dissolved in plasma, and then they will be transported within the body, right? And then it also contains organic nutrients. Organic nutrients, like I told you now, the blood, it transports important nutrients in our body as well, right? So which part of the blood carries that? It is plasma. What does it carry? It transports glucose, amino acids, lipids, right? And also I told you that the circulatory system also helps in the removal of waste material from our body, right? It removes nitrogenous waste like urea, ammonia, uric acid, and all that. Along with that, it also has got certain regulatory substances like your hormones, enzymes, other chemical messenger. See, your hormones and enzymes, see, most of the hormones, they are proteinaceous in nature, and all enzymes, and also enzymes. What are enzymes, students? What are enzymes? They catalyze the reaction, right? They are catalyst, right? That is, they catalyze the reaction. When I say catalyze, what do you mean by that? Nothing but it increases the speed. Okay, I told you, right, that within our body there are so many reactions that are taking place. And if you want those reactions to happen faster, then we want enzymes. Why? Because the enzymes will speed up the reaction. It will increase the speed of the reaction. So by increasing the speed of the reaction, what happens? We get the product fast. That is important, right? That's why the enzymes, they play a very important role in increasing the speed of the reactions, right? And other chemical messenger, all these are carried by plasma itself. Fine. Along with that, in plasma, there are major proteins which also play important role. Major proteins like fibrin, Fibrinogen helps in blood clotting, or it is also called as coagulation of blood. So we'll study about the mechanism of blood clotting as well, right? And along with that, the plasma has got globulin and albumin. See, in case students, when they do blood testing for like diabetic patient, or they will have this globulin and albumin in the report. You can check that. So adults will have, they will have normal range of albumin. They will mention that what is the normal range of albumin, what is the normal range of globulin, and in case if it goes high or low, that also indicates certain things, right? So you do check that in the reports. It will be mentioned. Okay, so what is globulin doing? It is involved in defense mechanism of the body, nothing but it plays important role in immune system. Fine. And along with that, albumin, what is it doing? It is helping in the balancing osmotic. Nothing but it is helping in balancing the pH, the fluids in our body. Fine. Okay. And then you know what? See, I told you now the plasma is it is the liquid component. What? Where are they formed? What, Irfan? Where are they formed? What? See, your red blood cells, platelets, all those are formed elements, right? Okay, they are the red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, they are formed in bone marrow. Whereas your plasma is the liquid component which carries all these elements, carries all those, the organic nutrients, inorganic salts and all that. It also carries certain wastes as well. Okay. Yeah, your plasma without clotting factor, I told you, right? See here, the plasma has got these major proteins, right? So now, the plasma has got fibrinogen, right? This fibrinogen plays very important role in blood clotting. Now, in case if the fibrinogen is not present in the blood, if it is not present in the plasma, see, it will be there. The thing is, the fibrinogen will be there, but in inactive form, okay? Always the blood clotting factor, it will be present in the plasma in inactive form. They get activated only when there is cut in your hand. Okay, in case if there is no cut in your hands, it will be in inactive form. So when it is in its inactive form, the plasma is actually called as serum. So when the plasma have active the fibrinogen, then it is actually called as plasma. Okay, clear with that? Fine. Okay, so now see, the plasma occupies -% of the total blood volume. Is it option A or option B? Is it option A or option B, students? What is the answer for this? Is it 35% or 55%? The plasma. It is, yes, it is 55%. Okay, fine. Next, see, now we'll talk about, so that was all about plasma. So the plasma is the liquid component that is present in the blood, right? It carries important elements. Yes, Anshuman, I got it. Okay. So yeah, now we'll be studying about the formed elements. Nothing but we'll start with red blood cells, then we'll move on to white blood cells, and then we'll also talk about platelets. Okay. So yeah, the cellular components of the blood are also called as formed elements. Why? Because these cells are actually, they are formed where? In the bone marrow. Okay. It constitutes 45% of the blood, the formed elements. Okay. So red blood cells along with white blood cell and platelet, it actually constitutes 45% of the blood. Okay. Clear with that? And then the function of blood, what is its function? Once, like I've told you, it delivers oxygen and nutrients. Along with that, it also helps in the removal of waste from our body, and then it also transports hormone. It maintains the fluid volume, right? So what is present in blood, in the plasma? What are all the proteins that are present? Fibrinogen, albumin and globulin, right? Which was, and then it also had certain, regulatory substances. These actually helps, right, in maintaining the fluid volume, right? What was albumin doing? It was maintaining that osmotic, right, which indirectly helps in the in maintaining fluid volume, right? Along with that, it also prevents blood loss. How? By clotting. So what is it that is present in blood that is helping in blood clotting? It is your platelets, right? And then it also maintains body temperature, it maintains pH, and also it prevents infection. How? Why? It's because the white blood cells are present, right? They actually release certain antibodies which fight against infections. Okay, fine. So now we'll also talk about lymph. So what is this lymph? What is lymph? Any guesses, students? You have already studied about this, right? About lymph. See here, you know, right, that the arteries, they carry oxygenated blood from the heart, right? Now this artery which is carrying oxygenated blood, that artery will have to penetrate between the cells that are present in our body. But the thing is, why it will have to penetrate between the cells? Because only when the arteries, when it comes in contact with the cell, only then the oxygen which is present within the blood capillary will diffuse into the cells. That's why these arteries will have to penetrate between the cells in order to deliver oxygen, not only oxygen, also nutrients and hormones, right? But the thing is, the artery is very thick. It's because artery is thick, what is happening? The artery is dividing into further thin walled branches which is called as blood capillary. This blood capillary will penetrate between the cells in our body, and then what happens? The oxygen, nutrients, hormones will be delivered into the cell. How? They will diffuse into the cell. And then what happens? Once the cell performs certain biochemical reaction, then certain waste products will also be released. Along with that, carbon dioxide is also released as a byproduct. Then what happens? The carbon dioxide from the cell, it diffuses into blood capillary. And now the blood carrying the waste material, carbon dioxide and all that will join the veins. Right. So that is how the blood capillary, it is actually helping in the diffusion of important substances and also getting back the waste material from the cells, and then the blood, it helps in the removal of that waste material, right? But unfortunately, the thing is, the blood capillary, it cannot reach each and every cells in our body. Why? Because we are multicellular organisms and our body is made up of millions of cells, and the blood capillaries cannot reach each and every cell. Therefore, lymph will come into picture. So what is lymph? The lymph is nothing but, see, I told you, right, in the blood capillary, the blood will be flowing. When it comes in contact with the cell, when the blood capillary, when it comes in contact with the cell, the important substances from the cell will diffuse into the cells, right? From the blood capillary will diffuse into the cells, right? Now, what happens is that sometimes the blood capillary it cannot reach most of the cells in our body. That time, the important substances like plasma, red blood cells and some proteins will ooze out from the blood capillary. It will ooze out from the blood capillary and it will form lymph. Okay, how are they oozing out from blood capillary? Because there will be certain pores that are present in blood capillary, and then the lymph is formed, and then the lymph will join lymphatic vessels, which in turn forms capillary, and it will deliver those digested nutrients to the required cells, right? So here, what are lymph? See, through the pores in the walls of the capillary, some amount of plasma, proteins, blood cells escape into the intercellular space. Intercellular space in the tissues. Why? To form tissue fluid or lymph. right? What is it doing? Like I told you, it carries digested and absorbed fat from the intestine and it will drain it to the, it will also drain excess fluid from the extracellular space back into the blood. So what is it doing? It delivers those nutrients to the cells, and along with that, in the extracellular space, nothing but outside the cells, at times what happens is that the fluids will be present, important fluids will be present, and those fluid will be drained back into the blood capillary with the help of lymph. Fine, that is the function of lymph. So this is the diagrammatic representation of lymph. See what is this? See, high blood pressure, nothing but here there is artery, and then this part is your blood capillary, which is actually divided into branch, and then this is low, nothing but here it is veins, right? So from blood capillary what happens? The actually delivers the important, see these are cells, these are cells, cells together forms tissue, right? So what happens when the blood capillary cannot reach the cell? That times from the blood capillary, see the important substance, it is oozing out into the extracellular space, and then that will form lymph, which will join lymph, that lymph will join lymphatic vessel, and then lymphatic vessel will help in the delivering of those substances, right? Clear with that? Okay, fine. So now I want you all to answer to this. Which of the following is a formed element? Is it lymph or thrombocyte? Which of these is formed element? Is it lymph or thrombocyte? It is thrombocyte. Okay, fine. Next, what are the different types of blood cells or formed elements? It is your red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, right? Okay. Now, I want you all to answer to this. What is the pH of blood? What is the pH of blood? Is it 5.2 or is it 6.3 or is it 7.4 or 9.2? What is the pH value of blood? It is 7.4, which is slightly alkaline. Option C is the right answer. Then the matrix of blood is known as, see the matrix of, see blood is a fluid connective tissue. Why is it considered as fluid connective tissue? It's because the matrix is fluidy in nature. That's why. So what is that fluid connective, the matrix is fluidy in nature, right? So what is that fluidy nature of matrix called as? Is it serum or is it plasma or is it formed element or is it lymph? What is it actually called as? Is it serum or plasma or formed element or lymph? It is plasma. Fine. Okay. Next, which of the following is not a component of blood? Is it plasma or red blood cells, white blood cells or lymph? Chandrasekhar, are you sure? What is the answer for this question? Yes, that was B. Now for this, what is the right answer? Which is not the component of blood? Yes. Yes, Anshuman, it is lymph. Okay. Fine. Now we'll move on to the cellular components. We'll talk about red blood cells, white blood cells in depth. Okay. So yeah, name the different Components of blood. Can you all comment in the comment section ki what are all the different components of blood which I just explained about? What are the different components of blood? Very easy question, right? Answer to this question. Name the different components of blood. Comment in the comment section. Okay. So, what is the structure of red blood cells? We'll talk about that, okay? See here, the red blood cell is the most abundant cell that is found in blood, right? Why? Because see, you know, right, 55% of the blood, here the plasma constitutes 55%, right? Plasma. Whereas your white blood cells and platelets, that constitutes 1%, whereas that constitutes 4%, whereas your 41% was red blood cells, right? So this is the abundantly, yes students, it is right, white blood cells, red blood cell, platelet, plasma, yes, correct. Okay, so now it is your red blood cells which constitutes 41% of the blood. So this is the most abundantly found cell in the blood, okay. See, nearly 5 to 5.5 million red blood cell per mm cube of the blood. That much amount is present. Only if it is present in this amount, then it is considered as, you know, healthy. Okay. And then where is it formed? Like I told you, these blood cells are formed in bone marrow. Okay. And the red blood cells will not have nucleus. It is devoid. It does not have nucleus. Okay. Why? And one more thing, students, you might get these questions in your competitive exams. That you're welcome, Chandrasekhar. So the thing is, when the red blood cells, when they are still immature, that time they will have nucleus. The time when the red blood cell matures, then it will lose the nucleus. Okay, so the matured red blood cell will not have nucleus. Keep that in mind. And what is the structure of the cell? It is biconcave. Okay, the cells are biconcave. That is the structure. Okay, they will not have the matured red blood cells. Let me write it here. See here, it is mentioned the matured red blood cells will not have nucleus, which means to say that when the red blood cells when they are in immature state, that time they will possess the nucleus. Okay, clear with that? Fine. And then the red blood cells, they are red in color and they have a pigment. They carry a pigment which is called as hemoglobin. They are proteinaceous in nature and they are iron rich pigment. Okay, this pigment, hemoglobin pigment, it is built in such a way that it has got strong affinity towards oxygen, and when the oxygen combines with hemoglobin, that time it turns red. That's why these blood cells are red in color, and then the name comes red blood cells, right? These molecules, they play a very important role in the transport of respiratory gases. Like I told you here, the hemoglobin, it is built in such a way that it has got strong affinity towards oxygen, right? So it is playing very important role in exchange, like gaseous exchange. It transports gaseous molecule, right? So now the average. So what is the lifespan of those cells? And students have already explained you, right, when I was doing the fundamental unit of life chapter in your class 9th. You had this, you have already studied about cell division, right? You know that, right, that the cell arises from the pre-existing cell and each cell has got certain lifespan. So after completing that particular period, the cell will have to die. In case if the cell doesn't die, in case if the whole cell gets accumulated in our body, then it turns carcinogenic, right? Nothing but it causes cancer, right? So now what is the lifespan of red blood cells? It is 120 days. Like I told you, each cell has got particular lifespan, and then the lifespan of the average lifespan of red blood cell is 120 days. Okay, after which they are destroyed where? In the spleen. In the spleen, the red blood cell will die. Okay. therefore the spleen is called as graveyard of red blood cells. Clear with that, students? Clear with that? See, your spleen is also called as the graveyard of red blood cells. Why? They might ask you to state the reason why the spleen is also called as the graveyard of red blood cells. You must know the reason. Hi Monalika, good afternoon. Yes. Okay, and then like I told you, what is it actually doing? It transports red blood cells. It has got hemoglobin, which has got strong affinity towards oxygen, right? Therefore, you know, what is it doing? It transports oxygen from lungs to different parts of the body and carbon dioxide from different tissues to the lungs, right? Yes, that was very simple. You knew all that. See here, what happens is that the hemoglobin, it combines with oxygen, and when it combines with oxygen, it is called as oxyhemoglobin. Okay, and when this hemoglobin, which is carrying oxygen, when it reaches the target cell, over there what happens? The oxygen will be released, or the oxygen will diffuse into the cells, right? The tissues. Then you will get back the hemoglobin, and again the hemoglobin is capable of binding to, okay, Maunika, okay, fine. Hi. Yes. So this hemoglobin, it will again combine with another oxygen and it will deliver. Fine. Okay. So now I want you all to answer to this. See, the another name of red blood cells are. What is the another name of red blood cells? Is it thrombocyte or erythrocyte? Is it thrombocyte or erythrocyte? What is the another name of red blood cells? Yeah. It is erythrocyte. Okay. And then what is leukocyte then? What are leukocyte and what are thrombocytes? Can you name what are leukocytes then? Comment in the comment section ki what are leukocytes and what are thrombocytes. Okay, fine. Next, what is hemoglobin? I just explained you about hemoglobin, right? Okay, so the hemoglobin is nothing but it is a pigment which is proteinaceous in nature and it is rich in iron, and it is built in such a way that it has got strong affinity towards oxygen, right? Thrombocyte, yes. Platelets, erythrocyte, leukocytes, fine. Leukocytes, what are they? Yes, the red pigment that is present in red blood cells, that is your hemoglobin, right? Okay. So now come on, I want you all to answer to this. The average lifespan of red blood cell is it 180 days or is it 150 days or is it 60 days or is it 120 days? What is the average lifespan of red blood cells? Option A, B, C or D? It is yes, 120 days, option D. Okay, next, what would happen to red blood cells if hemoglobin is removed from it? So if the red blood cells, if it does not have hemoglobin, then what will happen to that? The red blood cell would not be able to bind to oxygen. Option B states that the red blood cell would not be able to reproduce. Option C states that the blood clot will not be formed, and option D states that the nutrient will not be transported. So what happens when the hemoglobin is removed from the red blood cells? What happens? A? Yes. Option A is the right answer. Yes, correct. Now, the number of red blood cells in a healthy individual are, is it 5 million to 5.5 or is it 5 billion to 5.5 billion, or is it 1 million to 1.5, or is it 1 billion to 1.5 billion? What is the right answer for this? It is also option A. Okay. Now we'll move on to the white blood cells and types. Okay, in white blood cells, you know, right, it has got granulocytes, agranulocytes. We'll study about each one of them. Okay, and then we'll study about platelets, and like I told you, we'll also be studying about the mechanism of blood clotting. Fine? Okay. Now your white blood cells, these white blood cells are colorless, right? See your red blood cell, it had hemoglobin pigment, that's why. And when the hemoglobin pigment binds to oxygen, it was giving that good red color to the cell, that's why it was red blood cells. Whereas your white blood cells does not have any pigment and it is colorless. Okay, in 1 cubic millimeter of the blood, the number of white blood cells will be 5,000 to 10,000. Okay, and like you all know that the white blood cells, they play very important role in, you know, defense mechanism in our body, immune system, right? So let's say when the person is suffering from some infection or is affected by some disease, that time the red blood cell will be high in number. Okay, whereas in case if the person is healthy, then the red blood cell, white blood cells number will be somewhere around 5,000 to 10,000. Okay, and then your white blood cells are actually larger than your red blood cells. Okay, generally they are short-lived. See, what was the average lifespan of red blood cells? It was 120 days, right? Whereas when it comes to white blood cells, it will last up to 13 to 20 days. Okay, it will last up to 13 to 20 days. And like I told you, your white blood cells are of two types, the granulocytes and agranulocytes. See, the granulocyte, the term itself states that the granules are present in the cytoplasm. There will be certain granules that will be present in the cytoplasm of the white. See, these are cells. The cell will have cell organelles, cytoplasm and all that, right? So now in case of granulocytes, such type of white blood cells will have granules in the cytoplasm, and then the nucleus is divided into lobes. Okay, it is either irregular or it will be lobed or it is subdivided. Whereas when it comes to a granulocyte, which indicates, the term itself indicates that the granules are not present in the cells, in the cytoplasm of these white blood cells. Okay, and also the nucleus are not divided. The nucleus is not divided into lobes. Clear with that? Okay. So now again, under granulocytes, there are three types of white blood cells. One is neutrophil, and then you have eosinophil, and then comes your basophil. There are three types of granulocytes, right? And then it has got agranulocytes as well, right? Which is of two types. One is monocytes and the other one is lymphocyte. Monocyte and lymphocyte. Okay, we'll study about each one of them. Okay, so the first one is eosinophils. Eosinophil is a type of white blood cell, which is a granulocyte, which means to say that they have granules in the cytoplasm, right? And the nucleus is bilobed. Look at this, see here, this is the nucleus and it has got two lobes, right? That's why the nucleus is bilobed and it makes up 2 to 5% of the white blood cells. Okay, what is the function of this eosinophil? They play very important role in allergic reactions. Not just that, they also destroy pathogens, particularly parasitic wounds, and also nothing but they play important role in allergic reactions. Okay, and then moving on to the second type, that is basophils. Here the nucleus has two or more lobes. In eosinophil there were only two lobes, but now here in case of basophil it has more than two lobes. Okay, and then it makes up 0.5 to 1% of the white blood cells, and 1 milliliter of the blood contains 35 to 100 basophils. Fine. Where is it found? It is found in skin and also in the mucosal tissue. Okay. And then here it secretes histamine, serotonin, heparin. When are they actually secreted? When the inflammatory reactions are occurring in our body, the irritation that is caused by certain microorganism, then what happens? These, histamine, serotonin, heparin will be secreted to fight against that. Okay, fine. And then the third type is neutrophils. The neutrophils, it has got 3 to 5 lobes in them. The nucleus has got 3 to 5 lobes in them, and then it makes up 55 to 70% of the white blood cells. And what is the function of neutrophils? They play important role in phagocytosis. What do they engulf? They engulf the pathogens that is entering into our body, the disease causing ones, right? So, like I told you, what did I say? The white blood cells are they play very important role in, immune system, right? So, by, these white blood cells, by engulfing the pathogen, by secreting certain histamine, serotonin, which is playing important role in inflammatory reaction, and also your eosinophil that was playing important role in allergic reaction, right? So, these reactions, they play very important role in providing us a strong immunity, right? Okay, and then moving on to the agranulocytes. Under agranulocytes, there were two types, right? One was lymphocyte. The lymphocytes is the one which has got the large nucleus, and it makes up 20 to 25% of the white blood cells. And what is the function of this lymphocyte? They play very important role in secreting antibodies or in releasing the antibodies to provide immunity to our body during infection. Okay, and then your monocytes, they have kidney shaped. See, they have kidney shaped nucleus, and it makes up 2 to 3% of the white blood cells. And what is the function of this monocyte? Again, they play important role in phagocytosis. What do they engulf? They engulf the microorganisms that is entering into our body. Right, clear with that? These are the 5 types of white blood cells. These 5 types of white blood cells are divided into 2 groups. One is granulocyte and the other one is agranulocyte. Agranulocyte has got 2 types, that is lymphocytes and monocyte. Whereas granulocyte had 3 types, basophil, eosinophil. Right, and then there was another one which was your neutrophils. Right, clear with that? Okay. So, yeah. Now, I want you all to answer to this. See, the white blood cells are colored and nucleated, or are they colorless and nucleated? Are white blood cells colored? Are they colored? Are they colored and nucleated, or are they colorless and nucleated? I told you that yes, white blood cells has got nucleus in them. Right, whereas the mature red blood cells don't have nucleus. And your red blood cell was colored. What about white blood cell? It is colorless and nucleated. So, white blood cells, or it is also called as leukocytes, they are colorless cells in the human body, in the human blood, and it contains large nucleus in the center. Fine. Okay. What is the function of white blood cells? Come on, I want you all to answer to this. Okay. What is the function of white blood cells? Fine. Okay. So, now I want you all to answer to these questions. Right. Which of the following cell will play a role in resistance of infection and allergic reaction? Option A states lymphocyte. Option B states monocyte. Option C states neutrophils. Option D states eosinophils. Neutrophils or eosinophils, right? So, the one which is playing important role in allergic reaction. Say, I already told you that basophil plays important role in inflammatory reaction. Whereas your neutrophil, they play important role in engulfing the pathogens. What about allergic reaction? Who performs it? Which one? Any guesses? Comment in the comment section. the answer for this question? What is the answer for this? It is option D. Fine? Okay. Now, which of the following cell will play a role in immune response? Is it basophil, eosinophil, lymphocyte or neutrophils? Which one? Which is the one that is actually releasing antibodies? It is option C, lymphocytes. Okay. Fine. Next one. Which of the following white blood cells contain histamine? We saw, right, there was a white blood cells which was that granular type that was secreting serotonin, histamine and all that. During inflammatory reaction, I gave you another clue, the inflammatory reaction. So which cell was that? Is it lymphocyte, basophil, monocytes or neutrophil? It is basophil. Okay, fine. So yeah, now we'll move on to the platelets. So till now, we started with the transportation system, we spoke about circulatory system, the need for circulatory system, the components of circulatory system, right? And then we spoke about plasma a bit in depth, and then we started with white blood cells, red blood cells, platelets. I just gave you a brief explanation for that, and then we started studying all about red blood cells. We studied them a bit in depth, and then we studied about white blood cells. We also studied about white blood cells in depth, right? So now we are moving on to platelets, and then we'll be studying about the mechanism of blood clotting, right? Okay, so now can you all name the types of white blood cells found in human blood? I told you, right, the white blood cells, there are two types, the granulocyte and the agranulocyte. And again, granulocytes, they had three types and agranulocyte had two types. What are those 5 types of white blood cells that you get to see in human blood? It is eosinophil, neutrophil, basophil. These 3 are the type, they fall under granulocytes. The other 2 is the agranulocytes, right? That is monocytes and lymphocytes. These are the 5 types of white blood cells that you will see in human blood. Okay. So yeah, now we are moving on to the third cellular component that is seen in human blood. Okay. That is your platelets or thrombocyte. Again, these platelets are colorless and their shape is irregular. Okay. And again, the platelets, they don't have nucleus in them. See, even the red blood cells had no nucleus in them. The matured red blood cells had no nucleus in them. Yes, the serum and platelets. What serum and platelet? Right? Okay. And then here the cytoplasm does not have granules. See, in red blood cells, we saw that the matured red blood cells had no nucleus and they had a defined shape, right? That was, it was biconcave, right? And then we spoke about platelets are apart from white blood cells. Yes, okay, fine. And then we saw that in white blood cells, nucleus are present and it is colorless. But then the shape of in case of granulocytes, what happened? The nucleus is divided into subgroups. They are divided into lobes. Whereas in case of a granulocyte, the nucleus was not divided into lobes, but then the nucleus, it had kidney shape and all that. Whereas in case of your platelets, they don't have any particular shape. Here it is irregular in shape. They are not regular, it is irregular in shape instead. And then they do not have any nucleus in them and there are no granules in the cytoplasm. Fine. And then what is the lifespan of your platelet? It is 8 to 10 days. And what was the average lifespan of your red blood cells? It was 120 days, right? Whereas what was your white blood cells? It was somewhere around 9 to 13 days. And here also it is similar. The platelet also has got average lifespan of 8 to 10 days and then they disintegrate where in spleen. So it is in spleen, these blood cells will actually get destroyed, right? After they complete their lifespan. Therefore, the spleen is also called as the graveyard of the blood cells, right? And then this is the normal range of platelet that will be found in the healthy person. Okay, clear with that? And then what are platelets doing? What is their main function? Like I've already explained. I've been telling since the beginning of the session, right, that the platelet they play very important role in blood clotting, right? They release a variety of substances, most of which are involved in the coagulation of the blood, right? Okay, so whenever there is a cut in the blood vessels, what happens? First, the blood starts bleeding, and within like 3 to 6 minutes, what happens? The platelets, here actually there is a mechanism that is involved. Certain enzymes get activated which will help in the what? Clotting. Yes, like plants, do we have dead cells? No, Gokul, we don't have dead cells. See, plants have dead cells. Why? Because the plant, they want mechanical support. It's because the plant, they are fixed in one particular place and they grow upright. It is fixed in one particular place and they cannot escape from the dangerous situation, right? Therefore, their cell has to be protected, and also they require certain mechanical strength for them to grow. They grow tall and it is upright, right? Therefore, they have dead cells. See, the dead cells can actually provide that hardness and stiffness when you compare with the living cells. Therefore, the dead cells are present more in the plants, and also the plants, they do not perform much of activities. Therefore, they don't require much of energy when you compare with the animals, right? The thing that they want is, they want support. That's why they have dead cells. Whereas animals, we human beings, we don't have dead cells. Instead, what happens? Every cell has got a particular lifespan. So, they will live for those many days. After completing that lifespan, they will get destroyed. They will have to die. In case if the old cell doesn't die, then those old cells will get accumulated and that will lead to cancer. Clear with that? Okay. And then, however, after some time, see, when there is a cut in the blood vessel, within 3 to 6 minutes, the coagulation of the blood occurs, right? However, after some time, see, the blood stops to flow out of the vessel and there is a formation of lump or mass around the wound like this. Let's say this is the cut area. You can see these red blood cells flowing out. And then what happens? You can see in the second image that there are this yellow color thread-like structure which is forming a mesh, and that is actually preventing the blood cells, from leaking, right? That is your platelets. See the process. So, by doing that, what is happening? Here you can see that all the red blood cells will get accumulated. And here the fluid content is bit less. So, yes, actually your blood, it is liquid in nature. But at the region where there is blood coagulation happening, over there, it will be slightly jelly type of nature. They will be in a jelly texture. Okay. So, here what is happening during blood clotting is that here the liquid form of the blood is converted to the jelly-like substance, and then lump is formed, and then what happens? The leaking of the blood is stopped. How is that happening? With the help of platelets. Okay, clear with that? Fine. Okay. So now I want you all to answer to this. See here, the platelets are also known as, are they known as erythrocyte or are they known as thrombocytes? Platelets are also known as erythrocytes or thrombocytes. Is it erythrocytes or thrombocytes? It is thrombocytes, right? Okay. So now what is clotting or coagulation of the blood? How can you define the coagulation of the blood in simple word in just one sentence? Like I told you, it is a process which prevents the leaking of blood, and what is happening during that process? The liquid nature of the blood is converted to jelly-like, and then it stops the bleeding at the region where there is cut. Okay, clear with that? Fine. Now I want you all to answer to this question. The type of blood cell that do not have any pigment and nucleus are? Is it, hi Arun, good afternoon. So is it leukocyte, or is it erythrocyte, or is it thrombocyte, or is it a granulocyte? Which is that red blood cell which does not have pigment and nucleus? See, a red blood cell has pigment. Okay, leukocyte. Are you sure? Are you sure, Hema? Is it leukocyte? See, your leukocyte is a type of white blood cells which falls under which one? Yes, leukocytes are granulocytes. Are you sure? Shall I lock that answer? Oh, good, Arun, good. Okay, so it is actually thrombocytes. What are thrombocytes? Thrombocytes are your platelets. See, the platelets, they don't have nucleus. At the same time, they are not color, they don't have pigment. Whereas your white blood cells, see, white blood cells, they have nucleus in them. See, the type of blood cells that do not have any pigment and nucleus. See, a white blood cell does not have pigment, but then the white blood cell has got nucleus. Whereas your platelets, they don't have nucleus and they don't have pigment also. Therefore, thrombocyte is the right answer, right? So, even in your competitive exam, students, the first and foremost thing is you must be thorough with the concepts. You must understand the concept really very well, right? And then you should apply that concepts in your day-to-day life. Only then you will get thorough with your concepts, and then you must practice questions. And also when you are reading questions, you should be really very careful. See, here it is mentioned that do not have any pigment and nucleus, right? Therefore, when you are choosing your answer, be very careful. Okay, computer science, stream computer science. Leo, as of now, we are I'm your biology teacher. Computer science stream, like you want competitive entrance exam. So, you will be writing IIT JEE, right? We'll make a separate video on that. Okay, if you have any doubts related to this, you can ask. And one more thing, students, this series will also help you, one, to build a strong foundation, right? Along with that, if in case if you are a student who is preparing for NTSC exam and the Olympiad, so those students who are preparing for such exams, for them also it will be useful. Fine? Okay, which one you want us to start, Hema? The class 10th? Okay. So now come on students, I want you all to answer to this. See here, the number of platelets in 1 cubic millimeter of blood is, how many platelets are present? Yes, Arun, sure, definitely. Focus, from now itself, it's a right time for you to start preparing for, this NEET exam. Okay, nothing, just, start your preparation right now if you have not yet started. And this series is going to help you with your preparation as well. Fine? Okay. Life process. Okay, Hema, I've already done life process chapter. You can watch that. In case if you want me to take live once again, we will start one more series for that, for the fresh batch. Okay, fine. So now come on, answer to this question. The number of platelet in 1 cubic millimeter of blood is? What is that? See, healthy person contains so many range of platelets, right? Which one is that? Is it option A, B, C or D? Okay. So it is option A. Okay. Fine. Next one. Which one of the following blood cell play an important role in clotting of blood? Nothing, Arun. The thing is, you already have completed your class 9th and 10th, right? First thing is, when you're preparing, you should be thorough with the basics. Once you're thorough with the basics, then the rest of the syllabus will become easy for you, right? That's why we have come up with this series wherein we are focusing on polishing your basic concepts. And also, we have started a bit of class 11th as well in this particular session, right? So yeah, we'll make a separate video on that, how to prepare for NEET exam separately. Now we will focus on this, right? I'll definitely let you know about that. Okay? Yes, option D is the right answer. Yes. Okay, next. So yeah, now we'll move on to the mechanism of blood clotting. Yes, so now we'll study about the mechanism of blood clotting. Right, so first what happens? So now let's say there is a cut. There is a cut. Let's say there is a cut in the blood vessel. Then what happens is that, see, within our body, the platelets also releases certain, thromboplastin. And then the injured tissue, it releases thromboplastins. Right? This thromboplastins, what happens is that it is actually inactive form, that it will activate the prothrombinase. So prothrombinase is an enzyme. You're welcome, Arun, you're welcome. See, the prothrombinase is an enzyme which will activate the inactive form of thrombin. Okay, so this prothrombinase will get activated how? By the action of thromboplastin, which is being secreted by injured tissue as well as the blood platelets, right? So now for the activation of prothrombinase, the calcium, the presence of calcium is important. Okay, and then what happens? This prothrombinase, which is now activated, will convert the prothrombin to thrombin. So your prothrombin is inactive form. It is inactive form. That inactive form is converted into active form, that is thrombin, by the action of the enzyme, that is prothrombinase, and also in the presence of calcium. Then what happens? The thrombin will convert the fibrinogen into fibrin. Now what did I say? The plasma has got three major proteins. One is fibrinogen, albumin and globulin. See, the fibrinogen is an inactive form. Now this inactive form of fibrinogen is converted into the active form, that is fibrin, by the action of thrombin. Right? Again, for that calcium is required. And then once the fibrin is activated, then what happens? It will cause the clotting of blood. This fibrin is nothing but the thread-like structure. The thread-like structure, what happens? It will move towards that cut region and it will block that cut region, right? And it will not let the red blood cell to ooze out. As a result, the red blood cells will get accumulated over there. It forms a jelly-like structure. That's why the cut region appears a bit dark red in color. Okay, clear with that? This is the mechanism, which is very easy, right? You will have to remember these terms. See, the tissue, injured tissue as well as platelet, they will release thromboplastin, which will activate the enzyme prothrombinase. This prothrombinase will activate the prothrombin into thrombin, and thrombin will activate fibrinogen into fibrin, and then the clotting of blood happens. Okay, so this is the mechanism, and this is very important, students. It is very important. Fine. Now the fibrin threads, what do? They form mesh. See, like you can see in this image. Here, this is the cut region where the red blood cells are going out, and then what happens here? Once the fibrin, they are activated, what happens? You can see here. The red blood cells are getting accumulated, it is flowing out, and here you can see the net-like structure. That is nothing but, that is, the fibrin. It is thread-like structure which gets accumulated over there. and it forms that net kind of thing which prevents the red blood cells from moving out. Okay, that traps the, what is it doing? It traps the red blood cells and later squeezes out the serum, right? And this semi-solid mass left behind is the clot. And this is how the coagulation of the blood occurs in the injured region. Fine. And then the bleeding, ordinarily it lasts for, like I told you, it is just for 3 to 6 minutes. And then vitamin K is essential for blood clotting. Why? Because it is necessary for the synthesis of prothrombin in the liver. Okay, prothrombin plays very important role in activating, right, the fibrinogen. Okay, so now I want you all to answer to this. See, which ion plays an important role in blood clotting? Is it sodium or calcium? Is it sodium or calcium? Which ion plays important role in blood clotting? It is calcium, right? I've already explained now. The platelets inside the injured cells release a protein that is called thromboplastin. The thromboplastin, in the presence of calcium, it converts prothrombin to thrombin. That continues the process of blood clotting. Fine? Okay. Next, which vitamin is important for prothrombin formation? It is vitamin K. Fine? Okay. So now I want you all to answer to these questions. The conversion of fibrinogen to fibrin is catalyzed by, is it thrombin or prothrombin, or is it prothrombinase, or is it thromboplastin? What is the right answer for this? What is the right answer? Is it thrombin, or is it prothrombin, or is it prothrombinase, or is it thromboplastin? The conversion of fibrinogen into fibrin. Once the fibrin is activated, then the blood coagulation happens, right? So it is your option A, that is thrombin. So first, what is happening when there is a cut? The injured tissue as well as platelets, they will release thromboplastin. That thromboplastin will activate thrombin, right? The prothrombin. No, that will activate this enzyme prothrombinase, and then the prothrombinase will play important role in catalyzing the conversion of prothrombin into thrombin. And then thrombin will, in the presence of thrombin, the fibrinogen is converted to fibrin. Along with this, even the calcium plays important role. The presence of calcium is very important during the blood coagulation, right? Okay. Which of the following statement is incorrect? The option A states that the calcium ion is necessary for blood clotting. Option B states that the clotting of blood involves changes of fibrinogen to fibrin by thrombin. And then option C states that vitamin A is important for blood clotting. And then option D states that the blood clotting is performed by blood platelets. So which of the following statement is incorrect? Read the question properly and answer to this. Also read these options. Which is incorrect? Is calcium ion necessary for blood clotting? Yes, it is necessary. They play a very important role. And then option B states that the clotting of blood involves changes of fibrinogen to fibrin by thrombin. Is that true? And then yes, it is true. Option C states that vitamin A is important for blood clotting. Is that true? Which vitamin is important for blood clotting? I have already mentioned. Is it vitamin A or vitamin K? And then, yeah, blood clotting is performed by blood platelets. Yes, that is also true, right? So, which statement is incorrect? It is option C, vitamin A. It is actually not vitamin A. Actually, it is vitamin K that plays important role in blood clotting. Alright, that's why this statement is incorrect and that is being asked in your question. Okay, so the next one, the prothrombin is converted to X and that will play important role in conversion of fibrinogen to fibrin, right? So now what is that X? Is it prothrombinase or is it thromboplastin or is it thrombin or is it blood platelet? Which one is the right answer? What is that X? The prothrombin is converted to, that is converted to X by the action of prothrombinase. Prothrombinase is the enzyme that actually catalyzes the conversion of prothrombinase to dash. I just answered it. It is option C, that is thrombin. Okay, clear with that? Fine. And students, if you have any doubts, feel free to comment in the comment section. Okay, fine. Next, now we'll study about the blood grouping system in humans, and then we'll study about that RH blood grouping system, and then finally we'll study about human heart in this particular session. So we started the session with the introduction of the transportation system in human, wherein we studied about circulatory system. We saw the need of circulatory system. We discussed about the need of circulatory system. We also discussed about the components of circulatory system, right? And then we slowly started with the plasma, wherein we studied about plasma in depth, and then we studied about red blood cells, white blood cells and all that. And then we studied about red blood cells in depth as well, and we also focused upon the types of white blood cells, and we even studied about platelets, and then we just covered the mechanism of coagulation of blood, right? Now we are moving on to the blood grouping system, which is very important. This is also important concept from which the question can be asked in your competitive exam as well, like NEET, right? Okay. So this blood grouping system was actually first discovered by Carl Landstrom, right? Here the human being will study about AOB blood grouping system as well as RH blood grouping system, right? First we will start with ABO blood grouping system. See, red blood cells, they have certain proteins that are present in this, the surface, and then those proteins are nothing but they are antigens, right? There are two types of antigen. One is antigen A and the other one is antigen B, right? So now this presence or absence of the type of antigen that is present, that decides which type of antibody will be secreted or will be present in that particular red blood cells. Okay, now let's say if there is antigen A, then that particular blood cell will have antibody B. Okay, it will not have antibody A. Why? Because if the antibody A is present, then that antibody A will destroy the antigen A, right? Which leads to, it will lead to the death of the person itself, right? So that's why here the protein that decides which type of, antibodies will be present, right? Okay, so here, like you all know, there is A blood group, B blood group, O, A, B, right? See here, your A blood group will have A antigen on them, and then B antibodies will be present. Okay, whereas your B blood group will have B antigen and the antibody is A. Whereas when it comes to A and B blood group, A and B will have both A antigen and B antigen in them, whereas no antibodies will be there. And then in case of O blood group, no antigen will be present, instead antibody A and antibody B will be there in their plasma. Okay, see, look at this, your blood group A has got A antigen. A antigen is present on the surface, then their plasma will have anti-B, right? Your B blood group has got B antigen on them and their plasma will have antibody A, whereas AB blood group will have AB antigen on them, whereas there will be no antibodies in the plasma. In case of O blood group, what happens? There is no antigen on them, whereas they have antibody A and antibody B in their plasma. Hello Ritvik. Hi Ritvik. Okay. Fine. And then see here, it's because, see, you can see over here, blood group O has got antibody for A and B as well. Right. That's why blood group O cannot receive blood from A, cannot receive blood from B. It cannot receive blood from AB also. That's whereas it can receive blood only from O. Why? Because see here, O blood group, they have no antigen, instead they have antibodies in them. In case if you mix the O blood with A, then what happens? In A blood group, what happens? There is A antigen and there is A antibody in the O, right? When it gets mixed, it is very dangerous. It is incompatible, right? Ma'am, are not available, ma'am. In my area, Vedantu institution are not available. What? Okay. Shreya will, you are from which area? Like, you are from which state? Okay. Fine. So, whereas A blood group, it can receive blood from O. Why? Because O does, see here, it has no antigen, it has antibody A and B, right? And it can, A blood group can receive blood from A as well, right? Whereas not from B and AB. Why? Because the A blood group has got antibody B. That's why it cannot receive blood from B and also AB. Whereas your B blood group people can receive blood from O. It can. Okay, Shreya, we'll let you know, we'll keep you updated in the Telegram channel, right? We'll get back to you about that. And yeah, if you have not yet joined Telegram channel, do join because we'll clarify your doubts there as well. I'll get back to you about that. The Haryana, there is no Vedantu institution near, right? Okay, fine. Okay, and then AB blood group can receive blood from O, A, B and also AB. Therefore, your blood group, O is a universal donor, whereas AB is the universal acceptor or recipient. Fine? Okay. Now, I want you all to answer to this. See, if both A and B antigen are present on the surface of red blood cell, the blood group will be, so both antigens are present. So, is it A or AB? Is it A or AB? What is the right answer? Is it A or AB? If both the antigens are present, then it is AB. Option B is the right answer. Fine. Now, which blood group is universal donor? It is O. Okay, fine. Now, I want you all to answer to these questions, right? Which of the following blood group is the universal donor? I just answered, right? Yes, Shreya, it was AB for the first question which I asked. Okay. So now, which is the universal donor? Is it A or is it B or is it AB or is it O? Which option is the right answer? Which option is the right answer? Yes. Option D is the right answer. Then next, which of the following blood group is the universal recipient, which can receive all the blood? Which one is that? Is it option A, B, C or D? Which one? Is it option A or option B or option C or option D? It is option B. That is AB blood group is the universal recipient. Okay. In the ABO blood grouping system, the blood group O is characterized by the presence of O antigen. Is it by the presence of O antigen, or is it because of the presence of A and B antigen, or is it because of the absence of A and B antigen, or is it presence of the antigen A and absence of antigen B? Yes, Shreya, that was right answer. So what is the answer for this? What is the characteristic of O blood group? Which one is the right answer? It is they don't have antigen, right? They neither have antigen A nor antigen B. Instead, they have both antibodies in their serum. So option C is the right answer. They don't have both the antigen A and antigen B are absent. Okay, next. Fine, we'll start with RH blood grouping system. So you would have heard about this, right? That O positive, O negative, B positive, B negative blood group, right? So that what is that positive and negative? We'll understand about that under this topic, RH blood grouping system, right? So here the blood of most people, it contains a substance which is RH factor that is found in the rhesus monkey, right? That's why the term comes here RH. See, in case if the person is having that antigen, the rhesus antigen, the RH factor, if it is present, then it is considered as RH positive. In case if the RH factor is absent, then it is RH negative. That's it. That is as simple as it is. So let's say if a person is O positive, then the O positive person, they will have RH positive. In case of O negative person, they will not have any RH factor in them. Therefore, they fall under RH negative. Fine? Okay. So, at times what happens is that incompatibility will be faced. See, the RH incompatibility during pregnancy. What happens is that, let's say mother is RH positive, and what if the fetus turns out to be RH negative? Or let's say if the mother is RH negative and what if the fetus turns out to be RH positive? Then there is high chances of incompatibility which can kill the fetus, right? The development of first fetus will not be affected, whereas the second one will be at a high risk. Why blood of same person? Some person are negative. Yes, it is because of this RH. In case if they don't have this factor, RH factor, then it is negative. That's why. It is this rhesus factor that determines whether the person is positive, the blood group is positive or negative. Right? So now let's say, see here you can see, let's say the father is positive, has got positive blood group, whereas mother is negative. Then there are high chances that the fetus will be positive, right? That time the incompatibility will be faced, wherein the fetus development will be at risk, right? See, usually the first RH positive child will be normal, whereas for the second one will be at high risk. See, the second RH positive child could have severe anemia or jaundice. It may lead to the death of the fetus, and that condition is actually called as erythroblastosis fetalis. Okay? No, Shreya, it is not bad for health and all. It is not related with that. At times there is this condition. What happens is that, let's say if the mother's blood group is negative and when the baby's blood group is positive, that time what happens is that the fetus which is developing within the mother's body, let's say that is positive, then what happens is that the mother's body, it has got negative blood group, right? It will detect the fetus which is positive as antigen, and then what happens is that it will release antibodies against the fetus which can kill the fetus, and that condition is called as erythroblastosis fetalis, and this condition can be prevented. See, like I have already told you, the first fetus will be normal, whereas for the second fetus, like the conditions are a bit risky, right? So therefore, it can be avoided. How? by administering anti-RH antibodies to the mother immediately after the delivery of the first child. Right? So, immediately after, anyway, the first child is safe, right? The first fetus will be normal. So, in case for the second one, to avoid that, because when the first fetus is developing, that time maybe the antibodies might be developed, right? So, therefore, immediately after the first birth, the mother will have to be administered with anti-RH antibodies. Vaccination has to be done. Okay? So that the second fetus will be on the safer zone. Fine? Okay. Now, I want you all to answer to this. See, the person having RH antigen or RH factor are they positive or negative? Is it negative or positive? What is the right answer for this? Is it positive or negative? It is option B, positive. See here, the person having the rhesus antigen also called, which is also called as RH factor, are RH positive. Whereas if the person does not have, then is RH negative. Fine. What does RH stands for? So what is the full form of RH? Come on, comment in the comment section. The full form of RH. Yes, Shreya. Can you comment in the comment section the full form of RH? Okay. So yeah, now let's start with this quiz. I want you all to answer to these questions. Fine. So the first question is, when the fetus blood cells are attacked by mother's RH antibody, the severe anemia that results is known as, what is the condition known as? I told you, is it immunization, or is it erythroblastosis fetalis, or is it RH incompatibility, or is it both B and C? Yes, you know that it is erythroblastosis fetalis, right? Now, is that also called as RH incompatibility, or is it only erythroblastosis fetalis? Is it option B or option D? What is the right answer? It is option B, both. See what is happening there. See, the mother, if the mother has negative RH and if the fetus that is developing is positive, then there is some incompatibility that will be faced. That condition is also called as RH incompatibility, which is also called as erythroblastosis fetalis. Fine, clear with that? So option D is the right answer. Next, the mother fetus RH blood type incompatibility problems can occur of the mother is dash and that fetus is dash. So here option A says RH positive and RH negative, or is it RH positive or RH positive, RH negative and RH negative, or is it RH negative and RH positive? So when the mother is, when the mother is positive and when the fetus is negative, or is it when both are positive or when both are negative, or when one is positive and one is negative? What is the right answer? It is option D. When the mother is RH negative and if the fetus is RH positive, then the erythroblastosis fetalis condition comes into picture. Fine? Okay. Which of the following statement is correct for mother fetus RH incompatibility? So option A states that they can be prevented by injecting anti-RH antibody to the mother after first pregnancy. Option B states that this condition is much less likely to occur during first pregnancy as compared to the late pregnancies. And option C states that it occurs when the RH is, the mother is RH negative and fetus is RH positive. Option D states all of the above. So here they are asking which of the following statement is correct for the mother fetus RH incompatibility. It is all of the above, that is option D. Option D is the right answer. Fine? Okay. So yeah, now we'll move on to the last topic of this particular session, that is the human heart. right? So yeah, human heart, see, heart is the one which pumps blood, right? Where is it located? It is located in the thoracic cavity, and it is present in between the lungs, and it is slightly tilted towards the left side, right? And what is the size of the heart? It is equivalent to the, clutch of your wrist, the size of the closed fist. This is the size of your heart, right? And then you know that your heart is also protected by a covering which is actually called as, pericardium. It is a double layered membrane, right? It reduces the friction and it also protects from mechanical injury, right? Okay. And then, like you all know, that heart is divided into 4 chambers. It has got right atrial, right ventricle, left atrium and left ventricle, right? The 2 smaller chamber is the atria, and then the larger chamber is ventricle. And then you can see that your heart is divided into 4 chambers, right? Why? To prevent, the mixing of oxygenated blood with a deoxygenated one, right? Now let's see what are all the valves that are present and what are all the, the septums that are present that actually keeps, that actually prevents the mixing up of blood. So there is, interarterial septum, like the term says, interarterial. So it is present between the 2 atrium, and then there is interventricle septum which is present between the 2 ventricle, right? Okay. And then mostly your atrium, they have thin walls, whereas your ventricles have thicker walls. Why is it like that? It's because your atrium here, what happens is that the blood is received from different parts of the body, and when the blood is being received from different parts of the body, the thickness of the wall is like, it does not have much pressure. Therefore, the thickness of the wall is thin because it need not have to tolerate high pressure. Whereas when it comes to ventricle, what happens is that the blood will have to be pumped from this ventricle part of the heart to the different parts of the body. And when the blood is pumped to the different part of the body, it is pumped with high pressure. So to tolerate that high pressure, the atrium has got, the ventricle has got thick walls. Fine, clear with that? Okay. Next, there are walls that are present in order to prevent the backward flow. Let's see what are all the walls that are present, right? One is the tricuspid wall. The tricuspid wall is present between the right atrium and the right ventricle. This tricuspid wall which you can see. See here, you can see 1, 2, 3. That's why it is tricuspid wall. Okay. And then there is bicuspid wall which is also called as mitral valve. This bicuspid valve is present between the left atrium and the left ventricle. Like you can see here, you can see just it is divided into 2 regions. That's why it is called as bicuspid, whereas the tricuspid is between the right atrium and right ventricle. Okay. And then there are pulmonary semilunar valves between the right ventricle to the pulmonary artery. There is a valve that is present over here, that is your pulmonary semilunar valve, whereas there is a valve that is present between aorta and the left ventricle, that is called as aortic semilunar valve. Clear with that? Fine. And this is the structure of heart. How does the blood flow in heart? First, what happens is that this is your superior vena cava, this is your inferior vena cava. From the superior and inferior vena cava, what happens? The deoxygenated blood enters into the right atrium. And then when the right atrium contracts, the blood is pumped into right ventricle. And which valve is present between right atrium and right ventricle? It is tricuspid valve. And then from the right ventricle, what happens? The deoxygenated blood is taken out to the lungs through pulmonary artery. Okay, the valve that is present between pulmonary artery and the right ventricle is pulmonary semilunar valve. And then what happens? From the lungs, the oxygenated blood enters into the heart into left ventricle. And when the left ventricle contracts, the oxygenated blood enters into when the left atrium contracts, the oxygenated blood enters into left ventricle. And what is the valve that is present between left atrium and ventricle? It is bicuspid valve, which is also called as mitral valve. And then what happens? The oxygenated blood from left ventricle, it is pumped to different parts of the body through aorta. And what is the valve that is present between the aorta and the left ventricle? It is aortic semilunar valve. This is how the blood flows through the heart. Okay, students, clear with that? Fine. Now, the human heart has got dash chambers. How many chambers are present in human heart? Is it 2 or is it 4? Is it 2 or 4? It is 4, right? I just explained. It is 4. Okay. Now, what is the function of valve in human heart? To make sure that the flow of blood is unidirectional, to prevent the backward flow. Fine. So, now I want you all to answer to these questions. The bicuspid valve is also known as, is it mitral valve, or is it pulmonary valve, or is it semilunar valve, or is it aortic valve? See, the bicuspid valve is present between the left atrium and the left ventricle, right? And it is also called as your mitral valve. Option A is the right answer. Okay. Then identify the incorrect statement about the human heart. Okay. See, the option A states that the size of the human heart is similar to that of the closed wrist. Yes, that is true. The heart is covered by a double-walled membrane that is called as pericardium. Yes, this is also true. The human heart is 4-chambered. Yes. Atrium are a large lower chamber and ventricle are the small upper chamber. Is that true? Is this statement true? No, it is false, because atrium are the lower chamber which is present at the top and they are smaller. They are present in the upper region and they are smaller, whereas ventricle are present in the lower region and they are bigger. So, option D is the incorrect statement. Next, the opening between the right atrium and the right ventricle is guarded by, so the valve that is present between the right atrium and right ventricle is it bicuspid, or is it tricuspid, or is it semilunar, or is it pulmonary? Which one? It is tricuspid. Okay. So, that was all about this particular session. In the next session, we will be continuing with this. Fine. So, what did we study in this particular session? We started with transportation system. We studied that yes, the main transportation system in human being is circulatory system. What are the components of circulatory system? It is heart, blood vessels and the blood, right? And then your circulatory system, what is the function of circulatory system? It transports nutrients, minerals, hormones and also gaseous molecules within our body, and it also plays important role in the removal of waste material from our body, right? And then the blood has got a fluid it is a fluid connective tissue which has got plasma as well as formed element, right? We spoke about plasma, that plasma carries certain elements like inorganic elements. It has got organic nutrients. It also carries major proteins like fibrinogen, albumin and globulin, and it also carries regulatory substance in them like hormones, proteins and all that, right? And it also carries gaseous molecule. Whereas when it comes to formed elements, there are 3 types. One is white blood cells, red blood cells and platelets. White blood cells, they are biconcave, right? And it has got hemoglobin pigment in them which has got strong affinity towards oxygen, and their average lifespan is 120 days, right? And it is this hemoglobin that carries oxygen to various parts in our body, right? And then we studied about white blood cells, that white blood cells, they don't have any pigment, they don't have any color, but then they have nucleus in them. And then white blood cells, they are involved in the immune system in our body. They play a very important role in providing immunity to our body, right? And then here it has got nucleus, the white blood cells has got nucleus, whereas your red blood cells, the matured red blood cells will not have nucleus. Okay, And then the white blood cells are of two types. One is granular one and the other one is agranular one. The granular one will have granules in the cytoplasm, and the nucleus is also divided into subgroups. Nothing but they are divided into lobes. Whereas your agranular one will not have any granules in the cytoplasm, and even the nucleus is not divided into lobes. Right? There are 5 types, right? Under granulocytes there are 3 types, and under agranular type there are 2 types. So totally 5 types of white blood cells are present in human beings. What are those 5 types? One is eosinophil, in which the nucleus is bilobed and it plays very important role in allergic reaction. And then comes basophil, which has got more than 2 lobes, 2-lobed nucleus, and it plays important role in inflammatory reaction. And then comes your neutrophils. Neutrophils here, they have more lobes in the nucleus, and then they play important role in phagocytosis of the pathogens, right? That was all about your granulocytes. Whereas in case of agranulocytes, there were 2 types. One is lymphocytes and monocytes. Lymphocytes, they they will secrete antibodies. Therefore, it is playing important role in the in providing immunity to us. And then there is monocyte as well, which plays important role in phagocytosis, right? And then we spoke about platelet as well, and then we spoke about the mechanism of blood coagulation, right? And then we spoke about this entire mechanism, have discussed in depth, right? And then we studied about blood grouping, where we studied about A, B, O as well as RH grouping, right? And then the red blood cells, it contains some specific protein which is called as antigen, right? Now the blood group O is a universal donor, whereas AB is the universal acceptor, right? A protein is named as rhesus antigen, which is present on the surface of red blood cells in many person. If it is present, then the person it carries positive blood group. In case of the RH factor is not present, then the person carries negative blood group. Like you can see, there are O positive, O negative, B positive, B negative blood group, and so on, right? And then finally we spoke about the structure of heart. Clear with that? So this was all about today's session, right? So students, if you have any doubts in this session, or even in the previous session I spoke about light reaction and dark reaction and all that, right? In case if you have any doubts, feel free to comment in the comment section and I'll get back to you. And this is it for today's session, and in the next session we'll be continuing with this particular topic, that is the body fluid and circulation. Fine. So yeah, thank you all and have a great day.